We fell in love young. In the leanest year of Ethan's life, when his pockets were empty but his dreams were vast, I married him without a second thought. 5 years later, he had finally achieved the success he'd strived for. I believed with all my heart that this was the beginning of our happily ever after. To surprise him, I secretly flew back from an out-of-town film shoot, only to find his gaze, full of tender affection, fixed on someone else. It turned out he'd long since started to look down on me, on my life in the entertainment industry. Let's get a divorce, Olivia. Yesterday was Ethan's official appointment ceremony at the university. I was supposed to be on a distant film set, but I'd rearranged everything, flown back under the radar, all to give him a surprise he wouldn't forget. There. He was on stage, radiating confidence and intellectual prowess, his voice smooth and compelling as he recounted his past struggles and painted a vivid picture of his future ambitions. Finally, he reached the acknowledgments. My heart pounded in my chest. I clutched the small gift-wrapped box in my purse, imagining the perfect moment to rush onto the stage, to throw my arms around him. But as his list of thank yous drew to a close, my name was conspicuously absent. The only name that resonated with a particular warmth was, and finally, I want to give special thanks to my student, Sophia. Thunderous applause filled the auditorium. Ethan's eyes scanned the crowd, an eager light in them, and for a fleeting hopeful second, they seemed to pause in my direction. I was about to wave, a joyful smile already forming, when his gaze slid right past me, landing instead on a young woman a few rows away. Their eyes met and a smile passed between them, a private, knowing look that seemed to shut out the rest of the world. That, I realized with a sudden cold dread, must be the Sophia he was so especially grateful for. After the ceremony, I stood at a distance, a knot tightening in my stomach, and tried calling Ethan. Again and again the call went to voicemail or was abruptly disconnected. Finally he picked up. Ethan, congratulations. You finally got everything you wished for. I managed, trying to keep my voice light. Thanks, he replied, his tone distracted. So guess where I am right now? I chirped, still clinging to a shred of hope. Look, Olivia, I'm a bit tied up at the moment. I'll call you back later. The line went dead. My eyes, however, were fixed on the scene unfolding before me. I saw the young woman, Sophia, walk towards him. He reached out, his gesture unmistakably tender, and gently ruffled her hair. Then they got into his car and drove away. The car slowed as it passed where I stood, half hidden by a bus stop. Pulled over. Ethan got out, his strides long and purposeful, heading straight in my direction. My heart leaped. He'd seen me, but he walked right past me and into the convenience store at my side. Less than a minute later he emerged, holding a packet of my favorite cookies, the brand I always kept stashed in my bag. He hurried to the passenger side, tore open the package, and handed a cookie to Sophia before getting back in the driver's seat and pulling away. He hadn't noticed me at all. Those cookies, they were delicious, my absolute favorite. I used to always have a pack with me. I remembered a trip to the airport last year. Ethan was driving me. Hadn't eaten breakfast, and my stomach was aching with hunger. I'd habitually pulled out a packet, but Ethan had snatched it from my hand and tossed it onto the back seat. The crumbs get everywhere, Olivia. It's a pain to clean. We're almost there. You can eat at the airport. Ethan was a neat freak, almost obsessively so. I'd opened my mouth to protest, to explain how hungry I was, but he was already focused on the road, his jaw set. I didn't want to distract him, so I swallowed my words. When we reached the airport, I was pale with hunger. Ethan had simply said, "You should get something to eat. I need to get to the university," and driven off, leaving me lightheaded. My cookies, the last packet I'd had, were still in his car. It was hard to reconcile that man with the Ethan I once knew. The Ethan who would move heaven and earth just to make sure I ate properly. The year we graduated, I was a nobody, a struggling actress chasing auditions, running between dingy theaters, desperate for any role that would get me noticed. The relentless schedule and poor diet led to chronic stomach problems. When Ethan found out, his concern was palpable. He put his own burgeoning academic pursuits on hold, dedicating himself to my care. He became my shadow, meticulously managing my meals and rest. He'd prepare bland, stomach-soothing breakfasts before dawn. Worried I wouldn't eat properly on set, he'd personally deliver lunch, even in the dead of winter. I vividly remembered him, a man who loathed public displays and valued cleanliness above all. standing outside a grimy film lot, his own expensive coat wrapped tightly around a thermos of warm soup, waiting patiently for me. No matter how late my shoots ended, he'd be there. A steadfast beacon under the flickering streetlight at the corner of our road, rain or shine. It took 3 months, but my stomach finally healed, and I'd even gained a healthy bit of weight, thanks to his unwavering care. He, however, had lost his chance at a coveted postgraduate teaching position at the university due to his extended leave. "Ethan," I'd asked him then, my voice thick with emotion, "will you regret this someday?" How had he answered? "Never," he'd said, his eyes clear and earnest. "As long as it's for you, Olivia, I will never have any regrets." But later, when he faced setbacks in securing a lectureship, when the path to his professorship seemed riddled with obstacles, I tried to comfort him. It was then I accidentally saw a chat log on his computer with a friend. If only I hadn't given up that university post for Olivia back then, things would be different. A sharp pain lanced through my chest, a mixture of sorrow and a deep, aching sympathy. Sorrow because after more than a year he did regret it. Sympathy because I knew deep down that if it weren't for me, his career path might have been smoother, brighter. I didn't know what to do, how to bridge that unspoken chasm. So, I tried to compensate by being more accommodating, more understanding, more yielding in our life together. And Ethan, on the surface, continued to be the loving, doting husband he'd always been. I convinced myself it was just a fleeting thought, a momentary frustration vented to a friend. A joke, perhaps. Eventually, we navigated those early hurdles. We married, and slowly, steadily, we both began to flourish in our respective fields. Our stars beginning to shine. I truly believed everything was falling into place. I believed we had a long, happy future ahead of us. "Let's get a divorce, Olivia." I never imagined those would be the first words Ethan would say to me upon his return. After the ceremony yesterday, he'd left with Sophia. He'd said on the phone he'd call later, but he never did. I hadn't slept a wink all night, my mind racing. And now, seeing me unexpectedly home, his first reaction wasn't surprise or pleasure, but this devastating pronouncement. "Why?" I choked out, my voice raw. "Is it because of that girl?" His eyes flickered with surprise, then a shadow of guilt, before he finally nodded. "Yes. I'm sorry." My eyes burned, unshed tears stinging. "You fell in love with her?" I asked, my voice hoarse. Yes, Ethan had fallen in love with his student Sophia. It happened the year he became an associate professor. His career was finally taking off. Sophia, bright and adoring, looked up to him, captivated by his intellect. They discussed academics, shared snippets of their daily lives, and gradually they became confidants, kindred spirits, or so he claimed. During that time I was often away filming, rarely home. When Ethan fell ill, it was Sophia who had been there to care for him. The more time they spent together, the more an inappropriate affection blossomed. Ethan admitted he tried to resist, to maintain professional boundaries, but he couldn't control his feelings. Eventually, he'd simply let go. Even now, speaking of Sophia in front of me, his expression softened, his gaze filled with a tenderness that was like a knife to my heart. He made no effort to hide his affection for her. And what about me? I finally exploded, jealousy contorting my features, my voice sharp and accusing. Ethan glanced at me quickly, then averted his eyes. "Olivia, you're different. The truth is, your eyes were never really on me. They were always fixed on your world of fame and fortune, on climbing that ladder." It was a cruel caricature. He, the incorruptible, detached professor who supposedly disdained worldly possessions, and me, the desperate, social climbing starlet, clawing my way up from obscurity. During those years when Ethan was engrossed in his academic pursuits, when we lived in a cramped rented apartment and ate the cheapest takeout meals, I never once regretted marrying him, because he shouldered all the housework without complaint, because he nursed me with such tenderness when I was sick, because he'd sit by my bedside late at night, tears of self-reproach in his eyes if I got injured on set, blaming himself for not taking better care of me. Back then I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. The better he treated me, the more driven I became to succeed, to build a better life for us. I never imagined that, over time, my efforts, my ambition, would be twisted in his eyes into a mere hunger for fame and fortune. "Is that really how you see me?" I whispered, the fight draining out of me. "I'm sorry, Olivia. I just want to spend the rest of my life with the right person." Ethan certainly knew how to wound me. On our wedding day, under a sky bursting with fireworks, He had sworn that he wished to spend the rest of his life only with me. Barely 5 years had passed. The vow still echoed in my memory, but the man standing before me was a stranger. My heart felt like it was being shredded, but I forced a brittle smile, blinking back tears. When? As soon as possible. He must have sensed my resistance because he added softly, Sophia's mother is ill. His words almost made me laugh, a harsh, bitter sound. What? Are you trying to rush a wedding for good luck for her mother? Ethan's face darkened with anger. How can you talk like that? Sophia's mother is worried about her being alone. She wants to see her settled. I wanted to scream, what about me? Am I not alone? The year after we married, my own mother fell ill and passed away. I vividly remembered her, frail in her hospital bed, clinging to Ethan's hand, her voice weak as she repeatedly pleaded with him to take good care of me, to always be there for me. And what had Ethan said then? He had sworn over and over that he would always cherish me, treat me better than he treated himself, that he would never let me be alone. My mother's dying words still rang in my ears, yet here he was, already consumed with concern for another woman's daughter. Seeing my silence, Ethan continued, Besides Sophia, she's pregnant with my child. When we first married, Ethan had wanted a child. But I felt our careers were still unstable, our income uncertain. I wanted to wait until we were more financially secure. Ethan had been a little disappointed but had respected my wishes. Later, as our careers took off, we started spending more time apart. My feelings for Ethan remained strong, but I sensed a growing distance in him, a cooling of his affection. I kept telling myself I was being overly sensitive. When I finally suggested we could start trying for a baby, he refused. He used excuses. He was up for a promotion, busy mentoring students, no spare energy. He said we should wait a few more years. I considered it. My career was also just gaining momentum. If I had a baby and took a break, I might have to start from scratch when I returned. So I agreed. Who knew the truth was not that he lacked energy, but that he didn't want to invest that energy in me, in us. I told him, my voice flat. Give me some time. I need to think about this. After that devastating confrontation, I had no desire to stay and witness Ethan and Sophia's saccharine romance. I booked the first flight back to Crestview, where I'd been filming. Exiting the airport, I saw Liam Sterling, the renowned movie star, about to get into his black SUV. The area was swarming with reporters and fans, all clamoring for his attention. It was impossible to even push through the crowd to get a taxi. Defeated, I retreated to a quiet corner, planning to wait until the commotion died down. To my surprise, the SUV, which had already started moving, pulled over near me. Liam's manager, a sharp-looking woman, got out and approached me. Miss Hayes? Mr. Sterling asked if you might need a ride. I was utterly flattered and a little starstruck. I couldn't believe Liam Sterling even knew who I was. As much as I wanted to accept, to perhaps make a valuable connection, a glance at the lurking paparazzi, their lenses like predatory eyes, made me reconsider. The last thing I needed was to be fodder for gossip columns. I politely and painfully declined. His manager simply nodded, offered a polite smile, and returned to the car. Back in my hotel room that night, I checked my phone. Not a single message or missed call from Ethan. A bitter, self-mocking smile touched my lips as I tossed the phone onto the bed. My mind told me to just let it go, to cut my losses. But my heart ached. I couldn't believe that years of shared history, of love and sacrifice, could simply evaporate, that he could just stop loving me. A week passed in a haze of confusion and heartache. Neither Ethan nor I contacted the other. Tonight there was a fight scene scheduled. Before filming, I felt a dull ache in my lower abdomen, a vague discomfort. But time was tight, so I decided to push through and see a doctor later if it persisted. Midway through the take, however, the pain sharpened, becoming unbearable. I stumbled to the side, intending to rest for a moment. To my surprise, Liam Sterling sat down beside me, his brow furrowed with concern. Are you all right, Olivia? Oh, Mr. Sterling, I'm fine, I mumbled, pressing a hand to my stomach, trying to wave him away. Just a bit of a stomachache. It'll pass. Liam looked like he was about to say more, but his manager interrupted, calling him away. He stood up and walked off. The moment he left, a wave of excruciating pain hit me. My vision blurred, my mind went blank. I tried to call out, but no sound came. As darkness enveloped me, the last thing I thought I heard was a distant voice calling, Olivia. When I regained consciousness, I was lying in a hospital bed. Liam Sterling was sitting by my side. Seeing me awake, his face lit up with relief, which then quickly morphed into a somewhat awkward, unreadable expression. I asked him what had happened. He stammered, clearly uncomfortable, then rose quickly to call the doctor. It turned out I was 2 months pregnant. My condition was a little unstable, and the doctor advised complete rest for the near future. A maelstrom of emotions churned within me. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I don't remember how I managed to dial Ethan's number. I only recall babbling incoherently once the call connected, pouring out my fear and confusion. His response was a curt, "I'm really busy lately. We can discuss this later," before he hung up. A desperate hope flickered within me. Maybe this baby, our baby, could bridge the chasm between us, could bring us back to what we once were. I decided to keep the child. After reshooting my final scenes, my part in the new production was complete. I took an extended leave and confined myself to the hotel to rest and recuperate. Lately, Ethan had been contacting me more frequently. Neither of us mentioned the divorce. He was noticeably more attentive, more concerned. He told me he had ended things with Sophia, drawn a clear line. One weekday afternoon my phone rang. A video call from Ethan. I remembered he had classes at this time. He never initiated contact during his teaching hours. Could this be a surprise? A reconciliation? A hopeful smile touched my lips as I answered the call, ready to greet him. But the screen was black. The camera seemed to be covered. Before I could voice my confusion, I heard voices from his end. Sophia's voice, thick with unshed tears. "Professor Thompson, I don't want to make things difficult for you. I know you and your wife, Mrs. Thompson, are the ones who are truly in love. What happened between us? Let's just consider it an accident. Don't worry, I'll deal with the baby. It's just my mother. I hope you can help me keep this from her for now." Ethan remained silent for a long, agonizing moment. Just as I was about to hang up, I heard a distinct thump, the sound of a heavy object, or a body, falling onto a bed or sofa, followed by a series of ragged, heavy breaths. Disbelief warred with a sickening certainty. No matter how loudly I shouted into the phone, there was no response from their end, only those damning sounds. I immediately messaged Ethan, demanding he come to Crestview the next day to discuss him and Sophia. Otherwise, I told him I would terminate the pregnancy. Ethan, it seemed, only saw the message late that night. He called me repeatedly, but I didn't answer. Finally, he sent a text, saying he would be there first thing in the morning, begging me to stay calm. I didn't sleep a wink, waiting for dawn. The morning crawled by, but there was no sign of Ethan, no messages. His phone went straight to voicemail. That's it then, I thought, a cold resolve hardening within me. I picked up my phone and called the hospital. The next day, I arrived at the clinic early. Right before I was wheeled into the operating room, I checked my phone one last time. Still no calls, no messages from Ethan. With a heart heavy as stone, I went through with the procedure, ending the life of a child its father clearly didn't want. Afterward, I immediately contacted my lawyer to prepare the divorce agreement. As I was leaving the operating room, still groggy, I wondered how I'd get back to the hotel. To my surprise, Liam Sterling's manager was waiting for me just outside the door. He didn't ask any questions, simply escorted me to the hotel lobby with quiet professionalism and then departed. As I stepped out of the elevator on my floor, I saw him standing outside my room. He looked disheveled. A man who usually prided himself on his impeccable appearance now had messy hair, a noticeable stubble, and wrinkled clothes. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice flat. "Olivia, please let me explain." I pushed past him, unlocked my door, stepped inside, and slammed it shut, locking it firmly. I ignored his persistent knocking and muffled please. He wouldn't give up. His voice a torrent of excuses from the other side of the door. He claimed Sophia had made that video call behind his back, that he'd intended to set things straight with her. He said Sophia had accidentally fallen, and he was merely trying to help her up. What followed, he insisted, was an accident. He swore he'd bought a ticket for the first flight to Crestview as soon as he got my message. But that evening, Sophia's mother had a sudden medical emergency, a critical situation. Sophia had no other family in the city, and he'd previously promised Sophia he'd help care for her mother when he was trying to draw a line with her. So he'd gone to the hospital to help. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. "What, are you a doctor now? Capable of performing miracles?" Before he could answer, I continued, my voice devoid of emotion. I've already terminated the pregnancy. I'll send you the divorce papers in a few days. We're done. Ethan clearly didn't believe me. He started pounding on the door, his voice hoarse with anger. What did you say? You must be lying. Olivia, stop this nonsense, please. When I remained silent, the reality of my words seemed to finally sink in. Olivia Hayes, how dare you? He roared. You got rid of our child over such a trivial misunderstanding? Fine. Divorce it is. I hope you don't live to regret this. Just when I thought he had finally left, his voice came again, laced with a venom that chilled me to the bone. Did you really think I didn't want this divorce? I was only staying with you out of pity. You can't even begin to compare to Sophia. Only she genuinely cares about me. All you've ever cared about is money and your career. I thought I had armored myself against him, that I was ready to let go. But his words, each one a poisoned dart, still found their mark, and a fresh wave of grief washed over me. When we first married, I was just a struggling newcomer. My income meager and unreliable. My mother was diagnosed with a serious illness requiring long-term, expensive treatment. Just as I was about to give up my acting dreams to find a stable job, it was Ethan who secretly took on extra work, tutoring late into the night, even doing food deliveries to scrape together the money for her medical bills, one payment after another. He had told me then with such conviction, Olivia, you must hold on to your dream. I will always be behind you, supporting you unconditionally. Later, as my career gradually took off, I had to network, to fight for good roles, to spend countless hours honing my craft. My attention towards Ethan inevitably lessened, but he never once blamed me. I truly believed he would always be my staunchest supporter. I never imagined that in the end, he would see all my efforts, all my sacrifices, as nothing more than a vulgar pursuit of wealth. Our beautiful past, the love we shared, had turned to smoke and ashes. Oblivious to the discomfort of my post-surgery body, I sank to the floor, overwhelmed by memories of Ethan and me, tears streaming down my face. Suddenly the doorbell rang. I assumed it was Ethan, returned for another round of accusations or pleas. My mind raced, torn between anger and a sliver of what? Hope? The doorbell buzzed persistently. Finally, with a sigh, I dragged myself up and opened the door. Mr. Sterling? What are you doing here? It was Liam, wearing a baseball cap and a mask, his eyes kind above it. What, not welcome? Let me in quick, before the paparazzi spot me. His words jolted me. I quickly stepped aside, letting him in, and shut the door. Only then did it hit me. Why was I acting like I had something to hide? I wanted to roll my eyes, but, out of sheer reverence for the A-list movie star now standing in my hotel room, I merely managed a small, bewildered, Mr. Sterling, why are you here? If you needed something, you could have just called. Oh, and thank you for arranging for your assistant to bring me back today. I also wanted to ask how he knew about my surgery, but the words wouldn't come. Liam looked at me, a fleeting, unreadable emotion in his eyes. I thought I might have imagined it. I blinked, and when I looked again, his expression was calm, almost serene. My assistant picked up some porridge from Millie's, your favorite place, I hear. I've already eaten, and it seemed a shame to let it go to waste. Figured you probably hadn't eaten yet, so I brought it over. He held up a familiar takeout bag. He was right. After the turmoil of the day, I realized I was starving. I accepted the bag with a grateful murmur and quietly ate the warm, comforting porridge. Liam sat nearby, casually flipping through a magazine. We sat in a comfortable silence, neither of us speaking. I spent 2 weeks recuperating in the hotel. During that time, Ethan never contacted me. Liam, however, would occasionally appear with food, a quiet, unobtrusive presence. I felt a little awkward about it, wanting to say something, but afraid of misinterpreting his kindness or making a fool of myself by assuming too much. So I said nothing. I heard through the grapevine that Ethan had received another promotion and had been interviewed by a prestigious academic journal. I knew that journal. Before Ethan became a full professor, I'd once met its editor-in-chief, and had even tried to subtly connect them, hoping it might help Ethan's career, but nothing had come of it. I was surprised and a little pleased for him that he'd finally earned an interview on his own merits. I had already mailed the divorce agreement to Ethan. I only asked for our shared apartment in Riverton. It held too many memories, both good and bad, for me to easily part with. As for our finances, we'd always kept them separate after marriage, so there was no need to divide any assets. Life settled into a quiet routine. Until one morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing incessantly. I'd somehow become a trending topic online. The movie I'd filmed with Liam had just been released, and critics were praising my performance. More unexpectedly, some fans were enthusiastically shipping me and Liam, creating romantic fan theories about us. Reading those comments made my head spin. Me, shipped with Liam Sterling? His devoted fanbase would tear me apart. My fingers trembled as I typed out a carefully worded clarification, but before I could post it, I saw the hashtag had exploded. Liam Sterling himself had replied to one of the most popular shipping comments with a simple, "My honor." Had Liam gone mad? Was he sacrificing his carefully cultivated image for a bit of online buzz? I silently deleted my draft and instead sent Liam a private message, a single large question mark. He replied almost instantly, "What's up?" His nonchalance was baffling. I double-checked my phone. Yes, the comment and the trending topic were still there. "Mr. Sterling, sir, what on earth is going on with that Weibo comment?" He sent back a shrugging emoji. "It means what it says." I was speechless, so I didn't reply. A while later, still uneasy, I checked Weibo again. The trending topic was still active. Contrary to my fears, not many people were attacking me. In fact, under Liam's comment, many fans were enthusiastically supporting the idea of us as a couple. This was completely different from what I'd expected from the fans of a top-tier celebrity. I spent a full month recuperating in the hotel. The movie with Liam continued to do well at the box office, and I could feel my own career gaining a new, exciting momentum. Once I was fully recovered, I flew back to Riverton. Opening the door to my apartment, I froze. Ethan and Sophia were both there. Ethan hadn't signed the divorce papers, saying he wanted to discuss the terms in person when I returned, so I had come back. I raised an eyebrow. Ethan looked distinctly uncomfortable. Sophia appeared timid, yet her eyes held a barely concealed resentment. "Well, this is quite a scene," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Would anyone care to explain what's going on?" Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it again, apparently lost for words. Sophia shot me a venomous look, then said in a small, weak voice, "Please don't blame Professor Thompson. It's my fault. My lease expired, so I asked him if I could stay here for a bit, especially since you weren't in Riverton." "Oh? So, because I'm not in town, you can just move into my house and sleep with my not-yet-divorced husband." Ethan immediately stepped in front of Sophia, shielding her, his eyes glaring at me. "Olivia, do you have to be so crude? Besides, we're about to get divorced." "Then sign the papers," I retorted. Ethan seemed about to say something, then, after a glance at Sophia, she meekly retreated into the bedroom. "About the apartment," Ethan began, his tone conciliatory, "I think we need to discuss it further." He argued that while we had paid the down payment together, he had made all the subsequent mortgage payments. As compensation, he proposed we split the apartment's value 50-50. I almost laughed in his face. The man who had cheated on me was now lecturing me about fairness. I stood firm. The apartment was mine, or I would drag this out, make it as messy and public as possible. Fear flickered in Ethan's eyes. Just as I thought I was about to win, Sophia burst out of the bedroom. "Professor Thompson worked his fingers to the bone for this apartment. Why should it all go to you?" So that was it. I knew Ethan wouldn't have contested the apartment so fiercely on his own. Seeing that Sophia was pregnant, I didn't want to argue with her. I simply told Ethan to get her out of my sight, then retreated into the study. I don't know what Ethan said to her, but after a few minutes of hushed, intense discussion, they left. Just before the door closed, I heard Sophia's parting shot, low and menacing. "Olivia Hayes, I won't let you have an easy time of this." Ethan was surprisingly efficient. The divorce papers were signed the very next day. I immediately scheduled our appointment at the registry office. Then I decided to take a complete break to rest and recharge. One day my agent called, her voice buzzing with excitement. The renowned director Miller was preparing a new film and was interested in me. He wanted me to audition for the female lead. I was stunned. Director Miller, the critically acclaimed, award-winning filmmaker? I had never even dared to dream of being in one of his films, let alone as the lead. Whatever the reason for this incredible opportunity, I knew I had to seize it. When the audition results came out, Ethan and I had already officially registered our divorce. Liam was the one who told me the news. I had gotten the part. I was ecstatic, overjoyed. scarcely able to believe I had landed the lead role in a Director Miller film. Liam then casually mentioned that he was cast as the male lead. A sudden understanding dawned on me. I suspected why Director Miller had given me, a relatively unknown actress, such a chance. But I didn't dare ask Liam directly, so I just mumbled my thanks and changed the subject. The news of my casting as the female lead in Director Miller's new film, especially opposite Liam Sterling, caused a huge stir online. After all, I was still largely a little-known actress only recently, gaining some attention from my last film and the shipping frenzy with Liam. Many questioned my credentials, speculating that I had used my connection with Liam to get the role. I ignored it all. After a few days, the initial buzz died down. I thought the controversy was over. I packed my bags and headed to the filming location. As soon as I landed and switched on my phone, I was bombarded with notifications. I was all over the internet for all the wrong reasons. Breaking insider reveals. Actress Olivia Hayes, rumored to be involved with Liam Sterling, is married. I stared at the headline, my blood running cold. When Ethan and I got married, I had asked him, for the sake of my budding career, to keep our marriage private. Ethan hadn't liked it but had agreed. So for all these years, apart from close friends and family, no one knew I was married. I had maintained the secrecy, believing it was simpler, less complicated. I couldn't imagine who would leak this information now. I kept scrolling. Sure enough, the revelation had unleashed a torrent of criticism, regardless of the truth. What? Olivia Hayes is married? Then why was she pretending to be single? So shameless. Exactly. And trying to ride Liam Sterling's coattails for a CP? Does she even think she's worthy? Hands off our Liam Sterling. Stay away, you scheming witch. Amidst the vitriol, I was touched to see some people defending me. Rumors are easy. Where's the proof? Yeah, and so what if she's married? Olivia Hayes never explicitly said she was single, did she? Just as the online debate raged, a new bombshell dropped. A photo of my marriage certificate with Ethan. Ethan's face was blurred out, but all my information was crystal clear, exposed for the world to see. Besides Ethan and me, who else would have a photo of our marriage certificate? My hands trembled as I dialed Ethan's number. Ring after ring, the line went unanswered. Just as I was about to give up and book a flight back to Riverton, he picked up. Ethan, what is the meaning of this? Are you trying to destroy me online? Olivia, calm down. It wasn't me. If not him, then who? Before I could unleash a tirade, Ethan explained. He said Sophia had secretly photographed the marriage certificate months ago while helping him clean the house. She had leaked it now because I had forcefully taken the Riverton apartment during our divorce negotiations. Ethan, despite his recent promotion, apparently had limited savings and salary, making it difficult for him to buy a new property quickly. Sophia, feeling that I had stolen what should have been her home, already bore a grudge against me. Seeing my career suddenly take off, her jealousy had boiled over, leading to this malicious leak. Ethan said he would talk to Sophia, persuade her to delete the posts, and ask me not to bicker with a child. A child? I scoffed. What kind of child gets pregnant out of wedlock? Olivia, don't be so harsh, Ethan snapped. Besides, what Sophia said is essentially true. Did you really think you could snag Liam Sterling? What do you think he'll say when he finds out you're a divorcee? Will he still want to be shipped with you then? A surge of fury choked me. I hung up. Arguing with Ethan was pointless. The urgent priority was damage control, to prevent this scandal from affecting Director Miller's new film. Just as I was about to call my agency, a message from Liam came through. He gave me an address, a small, discreet side road near the airport. He said his car was waiting there and that I should get there quickly. The media were already en route to the airport. Once I was in his car, neither of us spoke. The silence was thick but not uncomfortable. We arrived safely at the hotel. Before getting out, I finally spoke. I'm so sorry, Mr. Sterling. Because of my personal situation, Director Miller's film has been negatively affected. I'm sure you know my circumstances by now. The online reports, they are true. If you or Director Miller have any objections, I am prepared to withdraw from the film. Liam simply told me to rest assured and focus on my role. He said he would communicate with Director Miller. And so I chose to lie low, letting the storm pass. After all, I wasn't a A-list celebrity. Sure enough, after a while, the public's attention moved on, and the incident was largely forgotten. And so I began filming the new movie, my life a whirlwind of early call times, long days on set, and late nights in the hotel. Throughout the shoot, Liam was incredibly supportive, always there with a quiet word of encouragement or a helpful suggestion. Initially, everything went smoothly, until one scene. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't deliver the performance director Miller wanted. After multiple NGs, Director Miller, usually good-natured, curtly announced an early wrap for the day. As the crew packed up, some offered words of comfort, but many more seemed to take pleasure in my failure, their condescending remarks like little barbs. I ignored them all. Finally, the set quieted. Just as I was about to gather my things and leave, a hand rested on my shoulder. I assumed it was another cast member coming to gloat or offer insincere pity. I looked up irritated and was surprised to see Liam. His scenes for the day had been completed much earlier. I had assumed he'd long since returned to his hotel. He must have heard about my disastrous performance and the director's displeasure. Am I really that bad? I asked, my voice low and dejected. I can't even get a simple scene like this right. Liam didn't mock me, nor did he offer empty platitudes. Instead, he started talking about his own early days in the film industry, the lucky breaks, the moments of inspiration, the sheer hard work, but also the failures, the rejections, the pain. Life, he told me, is a tapestry of experiences. The key is to just keep moving forward. Gradually, my spirits lifted. Then Liam patiently began to walk me through the problematic scene, again and again, offering insights, suggesting different approaches. The next day when we reshot the scene, I felt a new confidence. As I performed, I saw Director Miller's tightly furrowed brow gradually relax. I knew with a surge of relief that I had finally nailed it. Filming continued with its share of triumphs and challenges. And then all too soon it was over. Our movie had wrapped. Coincidentally, or perhaps fatefully, the city chosen for our film's premiere was Riverton. The night before the premiere, Ethan suddenly called me. He asked if I had been the one to arrange his interview with that prestigious academic journal. I was completely baffled. I told him no, it wasn't me. He sounded somewhat dejected after hearing my denial, then hung up without another word, leaving me utterly perplexed. The premiere itself went off without a hitch. We were all on stage, basking in the applause after the screening, posing for group photos, when a woman suddenly rushed towards the stage. It was Sophia. She stood there, trembling with rage, and screamed, "Olivia Hayes! You were married all along but didn't dare admit it. Now you're divorced but you still can't let go of your ex-husband, constantly harassing him. And all the while, you're trying to seduce Liam Sterling. I'm going to expose your hypocrisy to everyone today." I froze, stunned into silence. A wave of shocked murmurs rippled through the audience. Liam was the first to react, swiftly signaling security, who quickly escorted a struggling, shouting Sophia out of the venue. Although Liam acted fast, the premiere was being live-streamed. Millions, both in the auditorium and online, had witnessed Sophia's outburst. The cameras and microphones on site immediately swiveled towards me, a barrage of questions and accusations flying my way. And then Liam, like a beacon of light, stepped in front of me, shielding me from the onslaught, and gently guided me off stage and away from the chaos. Back in the quiet of my hotel room, I slowly regained my composure. But I still had no idea how to explain my failed marriage to the public, or how to address the nebulous, unspoken connection that was growing between Liam and me. While I was still grappling with how to respond, my ex-husband, Ethan, unexpectedly posted a public statement online. He explained that our divorce was primarily his fault, due to work pressures leading to our growing apart. He stated that he had initiated the separation, that it was amicable, and most importantly, that I had never harassed him after the divorce. Sophia's accusations, he wrote, were baseless lies. Almost immediately after Ethan's post, Liam Sterling also waded into the fray, adding his own, even more astonishing statement. He publicly declared his feelings for me. He said I was a wonderful, kind person, always polite and respectful towards him. He flatly denied any suggestion of me seducing him, stating clearly that he was the one who had developed deeper feelings. He urged everyone to move on, to focus on my talent and character, and then he publicly asked me to give him a chance to pursue me. Strangely, my first reaction to reading Liam's post wasn't panic or disbelief, but a warm, shy happiness. Something sweet and hopeful seemed to be quietly blossoming in my heart. Yet, it also felt unreal, like walking on clouds. I had never dared to hope for true love after my divorce. Ethan and I had been together since we were young. We had weathered so much, and yet he had still betrayed me. How could I possibly expect anything lasting with someone like Liam Sterling, a celebrated movie star? Just as I was about to call Liam, my phone rang. My heart leaped with anticipation, but the caller ID showed Ethan's name. He said he regretted everything. He claimed he had been foolish, easily manipulated by Sophia. He insisted he had initially only seen Sophia as a student, but her open admiration for him was something he hadn't received from me in a long time. One moment of weakness, he said, had led to a mistake, and from there, he had strayed further and further. But now he claimed he had finally recognized his true feelings. He also admitted he had learned from the editor of that academic journal that his interview had been arranged thanks to my initial efforts in contacting the editor, a connection he had mistakenly attributed to Sophia. Hearing this, something clicked. I abruptly ended the call with Ethan and immediately dialed Liam's number. He answered quickly but remained silent on the other end. As my face grew hotter and hotter with embarrassment, and I was about to hang up, I heard a soft chuckle. "Hey," he said, his voice warm and teasing. "Don't hang up." It turned out that Ethan's prestigious interview had been indirectly because of me, but orchestrated by Liam. The journal's editor-in-chief was a friend of his. Liam had casually learned about my unsuccessful attempt to connect Ethan with the editor. Hoping to give Ethan a chance, perhaps I suspected for my sake back then, Liam had privately contacted his friend, who then took a closer look at Ethan's work and subsequently invited him for the interview. Liam said he had initially been drawn to my diligence and perseverance, finding me an interesting person. He started paying more attention to me, and the more he observed, the more he admired me. My miscarriage and subsequent divorce, he admitted, felt like an opportunity, a chance fate had given him. And so, he had decided to actively pursue me. Thinking back on all the small kind things Liam had done for me since we first met, it was impossible not to be moved. Perhaps I thought it was time to take a leap of faith, to be reckless just once. Taking a deep breath, I went online, and under Liam's public declaration, I replied, "Okay, let's give it a try." Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, it was my wedding day with Liam. The past year had been filled with happiness. Our relationship had blossomed, and director Miller's film had been a critical and commercial success, once again affirming my abilities as an actress. When Liam and I had first publicly announced our relationship, many had belittled and criticized me. But as my talent became more evident, and our relationship remained stable and loving, the public gradually came to accept us. Some of those who had initially been my harshest critics even began to defend me against online trolls. The wedding ceremony was beautiful, filled with love and laughter. Director Miller even officiated, his presence a warm blessing. As we were leaving the hotel, ready to head home, I saw Ethan. He was standing alone in a shadowed corner, looking utterly dejected and lost. Fearing a scene that might attract media attention, Liam and I quietly invited him into our car. Liam, ever considerate, discreetly took the front passenger seat, leaving the back for Ethan and me. "What are you doing here, Ethan?" I asked, my voice gentle but firm. He said he was truly deeply sorry. He didn't expect my forgiveness, but he hoped one day I could genuinely move past the hurt he had caused. He then confessed everything. The reason Sophia had caused that scene at the premiere was because she had been constantly pressuring him, using her pregnancy as leverage, demanding he get money from me to buy a house so they could get married. Ethan, however, couldn't bring himself to ask me, and they had been constantly fighting. Later, when Ethan discovered that his prestigious journal interview wasn't due to Sophia's connections, she had lied, claiming a friend worked at the magazine and had pulled strings for him, they had a massive argument. In her agitated state, Sophia suffered a miscarriage. Afterwards, terrified that Ethan would abandon her without the baby as leverage, she told him they could get married even without a house. But Ethan kept stalling, unwilling to commit. When Sophia discovered he was still trying to contact me, she had flown into a jealous rage and orchestrated the public outburst at the premiere. 6 months ago, Sophia and Ethan had finally irrevocably split. Initially, Sophia had expected Ethan to come crawling back, to appease her. But when she found out he had started going on dates with other female teachers from the university, she retaliated. In a fit of vengeful anger, she reported Ethan to the university administration, accusing him of seducing his student and committing adultery during our marriage. Ethan was dismissed from his post. Everything he had worked his entire life for, everything he had sacrificed for was gone. The past is like smoke, I thought. I no longer hated Ethan. But forgiveness? That was something I couldn't offer. I will never forgive you, Ethan, I said quietly. He nodded, his face calm, almost serene, then got out of the car and walked away. On our child's first birthday, Liam and I were happier than I ever thought possible. Idly scrolling through social media, I saw a post from a mutual acquaintance of Ethan's and mine. It was a memorial tribute. Ethan had died in a car accident a few weeks prior. I felt no sadness, no triumph. Just a quiet acknowledgement that perhaps this was fate's judgment, and his own finally delivered.